back to another episode of MMA Breakdowns and Bets. As always, I am Santino DeFranco, and with me is, well, I guess nobody's with me today. So it turns out Brandan decided he was going to leave the show and go to Costa Rica. I don't know how he's going to live there as an expat, but I wish him all the best. And maybe one of these days, if he's not kidnapped and stabbed, we'll see him again. So you guys are with me today alone. And actually, Brandan is in Costa Rica, but he has not left the show, unfortunately. I couldn't get rid of him that quickly. So he'll be back next week. But he does not have internet service. He can't access video. I don't know. He's in the jungle somewhere doing something in Costa Rica. So you guys are here with me alone, but I wanted to get stuff out. I've been watching tape. I just got back from Jacksonville a couple of days ago, so that was crazy. Mark Madsen did great. Zombie, Zombie had a rough performance. Alexander Volkanovski is just as damn good as the world thinks he is. So that did not go our way, but Zombie is just one of the greatest humans on the planet. If we'd never see him again in the cage, I would just wish him nothing but the best in all of his future endeavors. So um, before we get into the show, I know a lot of you are looking for a new sports book because the PFL situation, where a lot of people were paid, the fights that happened ahead of time, so a lot of accounts are overdrawn, are suspended. So if you guys are looking for a new account, a new book, go to mybookie.ag and use code MMAPicks50 and you will get up to a 50% deposit bonus. Okay, so up to $1,000. So if you deposit $1,000, my bookie will match up to 50% of that and give you $500 additional deposit on your first deposit. Again, MMA Picks 50, mybookie.ag, and that is in the links. And as always, we always want to thank our main sponsor from the beginning, the OG LaCroix. And I'm still rocking the limoncello. So if you guys haven't tried a limoncello LaCroix, you don't even know what you're missing. You do not know it. And as always, check out our Patreon. Brandon's picks kill it on the local regional scene. My picks last week, I went 8 for 9 or 9 for 10. The only thing I lost was Peter Yan versus Aljo. And I actually think that, round one I was kind of half watching because I was getting Zombie warmed up. Round 2 and 3 were absolutely Aljo's on his back the whole time. 4 and 5 were Peter Yan. From what I was watching, I thought Yan won it. I don't know that I could really argue because, again, I wasn't paying attention 100% to that first round. But all of my other picks hit. I had Raquel Pennington. I had Piera. I had Yan Aljo over 1.5. Even on the podcast last week, I told you guys how Olenek Vanderay was going to go down and went down exactly how I said it would go down. So check out our Patreon. It's $25 a month. You get all of our picks for, the whole month. So anyway, let's get into this week's card, headlined by Belal Muhammad and Vincente Luque. So first fight of the night. And man, some of these cards you guys don't realize. This is what I do for a living. Half the names on this card, I've seen these guys fight, but they're just not household names to me. And I watch so much film that so much of it blends. So I had to go back and watch film on every single one of these fighters again and again and again, because I wanted to make sure that I knew exactly who they were and their skill set. So this was a rough one. First fight of the night is Heili Alateng and Kevin Croom, which I'm not going to get into much because Heili trains with me. So Heili trains with me. AQ Aor trains with me. He was fighting the following week. I will be up in Vegas this week for Heili's fight. Heili is as tough as they come. Such a nice guy. Has a block of a head. Kevin Croom, I think, is actually a little bit better than people give him credit for, because he's had, not the greatest success in the UFC so far. But, he's fought Kamuela Kirk. Actually, Kamuela submitted him in LFA before either of them were in the UFC. I think he put him to sleep in about a minute and a half. But Croom's tough. Heili's tough. You guys be the judge of that. I don't really like to talk about my fighters, but that's what you get. Now, going on to Sam Hughes and Istela Nunes. All right, so I'm going to pull up the records here really quickly. We've got Sam Hughes, who is 5 and 4. We've got Istela Nunes. Let's let's see, she is 6 and dose, and is definitely a kickboxer. And let me pull up the odds for you guys on this one first before we get going. Istela Nunes minus 220. Sam Hughes is plus 175. Sam Hughes is durable, all right? And I mean, she's got decision losses to Luana Pinheiro, to Loma, Dr. Stoppage Tisha Torres after round one. And that is it. She is 0-3 in the UFC. She's got a loss to Vanessa Demopoulos with the inverted triangle before they got there. Um, man, I want to say that she is a kickboxer, but I don't know that she doesn't really do a lot that wows me. She is there. She's hard to put away, and she is just there. On the other side of this, we've got Istela Nunes, who really is a very solid kickboxer. She really likes her left middle kick. She will switch stances. She throws that right hook and then the left body kick. A lot of really dynamic stuff up the middle. I really like her striking. She's long. She takes it. She's good in the clinch. And when she does get taken down, she knows how to get back up. She knows to get back to her feet. She knows, how to. She's not going to lay on her back and work jujitsu the whole time. Now, I think Istela wins this. I think it's kind of an easy win for her. I think Sam Hughes is tough. She's durable, but I don't know that she's going to present a lot of dangerous moments in the fight because I like Estela's striking. She's very fast. She hits hard. She has a really good 3-2. Sometimes she throws a 1-2, but again, she just has good like kick IQ, good Muay Thai IQ. I really like it. I would not be surprised if there is a draw in this fight. And let me tell you why. I mean, I think Istela wins this, but somebody could win a round. I mean, Sam Hughes, weird stuff could happen. Sam Hughes wins a round, okay? Istela Nunes grabbed the cage so many times in her last fight. I was shocked that she didn't get a point taken away. So I think Istela wins this. She's the favorite. I think the over is an easy bet here. Over 1.5, over 2.5. The fight goes the distance. I don't know, something like that. Whatever risk you're willing. I think over 1.5 is very safe. I think over 2.5 is probably decently safe. Fight goes the distance. I think it's probably likely, but again, those type of bets get a little riskier once you start deciding, okay, it goes the distance, it ends in round one, whatever. But don't be surprised if there's like a freaking point deduction from a fence grab here. I mean, I know that's kind of a wild, crazy, thought, but crazier things have happened, and they're fighting in the apex. Who knows who's the ref? Points might be taken quickly. Next up, and I'm going to fly through these. I don't have Brandan here to argue with me or to talk any sense into me. So I'm going to go through these because as much as I love hearing the sound of my own voice, I don't want to keep rambling on for too long. So next up, we have Trey Ogden and Jordan Leavitt. And Ogden is a last-minute replacement. Jordan Leavitt was supposed to fight Victor Martinez, and that bout got canceled for who knows why. But Leavitt is 9-1. He beat Matt Sales in his last fight, lost to Claudio Puelles, beat Matt Wyman on the big slam. Trey Ogden is coming in, like I said, last minute. He's 15-4. He is on a 3-fight win streak, and his last loss was in 2019. Now, Ogden is a jiu-jitsu black belt, but he's also a Glory MMA guy, and so that's James Krause's spot. Jordan Leavitt is a jiu-jitsu guy who really, I mean, is just kind of a wild, funky jiu-jitsu guy, all right? I mean, he's a southpaw. His stand-up leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, his stand-up is not impressive at all. His jiu-jitsu is good. He has really solid jiu-jitsu. One thing that I really like about Leavitt is his ability to scramble and find these positions. One thing he did with Sales, it was a horrible shot. Sales stuffed it early, but he had an arm. All right. He had an arm trapped, kind of almost like Sales had an underhook, and Leavitt had a tricep and a wrist. And he almost like Leavitt was on his knees. He kind of almost arm dragged him from his knees, turned him into the cage, and then got the takedown off of it, which I thought was really interesting. Although Sales should have just pushed off and gotten the hell away from there. I mean, it was kind of crazy. Leavitt gasses, and that's the thing that's gonna be, kind of a big deal here. On the other side of that, like I said, we have Trey Ogden. He is not a bad striker. He's definitely the better striker of these two. He's not a bad wrestler. I don't really know who I would give the wrestling advantage to. I think Leavitt scrambles better, and I think Ogden is a better kind of traditional wrestler. He level changes well, hits a blast double. He understands it. Leavitt does not have some crazy amazing wrestling. He kind of shoots to scramble. And I think a lot of that, I think Ogden is going to shut a lot of that down. I think he's going to be able to stuff a lot of those takedowns. Um, but the other thing is Jordan Leavitt has, again, good sneaky jujitsu. But you want to know who else has good sneaky jujitsu? And that's Ryan Hall. And you want to know who fought Ryan Hall was Derek Minner, who trains with James Krause. Minner lost the fight. All right, don't get me wrong, but they did a really, really good job with Minner, with Ryan Hall defending stuff. I think their jiu-jitsu is good. I think they're trained well. I think Ogden is going to stuff a lot of Leavitt's takedowns. I think he is going to win in the striking battles, and I don't think that Leavitt is going to be able to submit Ogden. Ogden will get submitted off of his back or I mean, it can happen. We saw in his last fight, he got thrown an armbar, thrown a triangle, but he defended well. I think Leavitt's going to shoot. I think Leavitt's going to get tired. And I think we're going to see a very similar situation to the Claudio Puelles fight. When Leavitt gets tired, he ends up pulling guard. I think he ends up on his back too much. And I think if Ogden is in decent shape, because again, he is taking this fight short notice, I think if Trey Ogden is in decent enough shape, I think he gets the job done here. And he is a little bit of a favorite. He's minus 130. I think that's a good bet for that fight. I think I like him in the win. I think this one probably goes over 1.5 as well. And yeah, that's what I got for this fight. Moving along like a freight train. We've got Chris Barnett and Martin Buday. And Chris Barnett, if you guys don't know, man, this dude has he's 5'9". He weighs about 2,000 pounds. I think he actually has to cut to make 265 pounds. I mean, he is a short, stocky tank of a human. He's got a great walkout. He's dancing the whole way. His last fight was against John Vellante. Hit him with a wheel kick, knocked him out. I mean, it was a lot of fun. He's got a lot of experience. He is 22-7. Really swings for the fences. He has decent low kicks, but man, he throws heaters, right hand, left hand. He is trying to hurt somebody. On the other side of that, we've got Martin Buday, who is another big guy that cuts the weight. He is 6'4", cuts to make 265. We saw him against Lorenzo Hood on the Contender Series. And, I mean, he looked good. He was pushing Lorenzo to the fence. Got hit with quite a bit of punches, though, on his way. Didn't seem to faze him whatsoever. Landed knees in the clinch and then started landing all those knees to the thigh, which I've never seen hurt anybody the way that they did with Hood. And it looked like Hood just kind of quit, all right? So I wasn't overly impressed with Buday's win there because I was so underwhelmed with Hood's performance. It was kind of hard. But then you look at his other fights in Octagon. You look at his last fight was a KO. A fight before that, Kimura. Fight before that against Orlov was punches standing. All right. And that Orlov fight is very telling. He was only 1-0 at the time. He's 3-1 now, but he's a lot smaller. He's 6'1". All right. He's a wrestler. And we really saw knees coming out of Buday. And that I think is going to be the difference in this fight. I mean, Buday comes in, he's very tall, and his stand-up is stiff. He's not a great stand-up guy. He's awkward. He's very awkward, but he's going to push this fight forward. He's going to push it to the fence, and he is so much taller than Barnett that he is going to be able to grab his head at will as long as he can close the distance. He loves the tie clinch, and he loves throwing those knees up the middle in that tie clinch, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see here. I think Barnett is going to have some moments. I think Barnett is going to swing those big overhands, in pending that he doesn't really rock Buday early. I think we're going to see Buday push him up against the fence, get a lot of knees, get a lot of control, wear him out a little bit. And if he doesn't hurt him with the knees, then I think he ends up getting the takedown later on in the first round or maybe even in the second round. And once he's on top, I don't see this fight going really anywhere else. I like Buday here. I don't know if I like an over on this. And the reason is they're heavyweight, so weird stuff can happen. All right. So we haven't really seen enough of Buday against higher level competition. I could see Buday finishing this with a knee early. I could see him getting a takedown in round 2 early and kind of beating him up, or it going a little bit longer, even going the distance. I like Buday here. He is let me look at my handy Bovada odds. He's minus 230. I think that's a solid bet. Um, I think Ben Rothwell really outstruck Barnett easily with uppercuts, just uppercut after uppercut after uppercut. Really beat him up, and Rothwell is not known as this crazy amazing striker. I think Buday is going to be able to weather whatever storm Barnett has for him, push him up, and that's that. Um, and now let's get on to the next. Rafa Garcia versus Jesse Ronson. Rafa Garcia is 13-2. He's got a win over Natan Levy. He lost to Chris Grutzmacher and Nasrat Hasparat. He's a combates guy, all right? On the other side of that, we've got Jesse Ronson. These guys are fighting at 170. Ronson had a stint in the UFC earlier. He's a kickboxer out of Canada. He lost in the PFL a couple of times, came back. Then he fought Nicholas Dalby. One, knocked him out, and then got suspended for steroid use. And but the Dalby fight, I mean, Dalby is good. Don't get me wrong. He's 18-3. He was just swinging at Ronson, nonstop, marching forward, just recklessly, and just just with zero cause for concern, and then got clipped. Of course, you're going to go out if you do that. You cannot throw 100 punches at somebody if they're standing, expect them not to swing back. You've got to throw a combo, angle off, throw a combo, grab them, throw a combo, push away, throw a combo, move back out, wait for them to swing, come back in. If you just aimlessly punch again and again and again and again, I don't really know what you're going to expect. And that's what we saw in that fight. Ronson is a kickboxer by trade, but he's very inactive. He doesn't do a lot. He does throw his left middle kick. He's a southpaw. But I really don't see it. And he's got good power in his hands. On the other side of that, we've got Rafa Garcia. And I like Garcia. I think he is a solid fighter. I don't know that he's ever going to be world champion, all right? But he's got heavy hands. He mixes his level changes up well. His wrestling is really, really good. We see him, especially against Southpaws. We saw Natan Levy. He would constantly dip his head and then reach for that with his left hand. He would reach for Natan Levy's lead leg and then throw a big overhand. And that landed a lot. And he would mix that up. And then he would shoot with that head on the outside single and then either go to the back or shoot that head on the outside single, run it to the mat, and then jump sides. His wrestling is really solid. His scrambling is really good. When he gets taken down, he knows to get back up. I really like his fight IQ. I think he does a lot of stuff really well. I don't think he's a world beater, but I really like him. I think in the Gritzmacher fight, I think we saw Garcia get tired because he hurt Grits early, and I think he adrenalined himself out. In the fight right after that, we didn't see that much. The thing that worries me is that he is orthodox going against a southpaw fighter, and he dips his head quite a bit. And Natan Levy almost caught him with that left knee, left middle kick quite a bit. I mean, he's throwing it almost like he's throwing a left middle kick, but Garcia ducks his head so much that he's almost running into knees, and even caught a couple of those. He's got a good chin. He's got good cardio. He's got good power. I think he takes this fight to the ground. I think he just out wrestles him and mixes up his boxing and his wrestling really well and wears him out. The odds for this fight, this is dead even. Jesse Ronson is minus 110. Rafa Garcia is minus 110. I really like Rafa Garcia in this spot. And outside of Ronson's experience, I really don't know like why this is such a close fight. I believe it is being contested up a weight class at 170, but Ronson has fought at 55 quite a bit as well. We saw him against Nicholas Dalby, who looked way bigger than him. I like Garcia here. I think it's probably going to go over 1.5. And, I think Rafa or Rafa, whatever you want to call it, because he's Mexican, not Brazilian. So it must be Rafa. But anyway, Rafa wins it. I like that spot here. And let's go. Next up on the card, we have Drakkar Klose versus Brandan Jenkins. And this is the biggest spread of the night. I believe so. Drakkar is minus 575 and Brandan Jenkins is plus 415. And I mean, it sounds like a crazy spread. Drakkar hasn't fought for a while. His last fight was Beneil Dariush, and that was in, let me see. All right, that was 2020. That was March of 2020. So that's 2 years ago, man. Even a little bit over. He was training with me at the time. He trained with me for that Christos fight and the Beneil Dariush fight. And then he is now back at the MMA lab. Brandan Jenkins, 15-8. He looks smooth. He looks very confident in his striking. All right. Um, Even though he's a more fluid striker, I think he looks more comfortable as a striker than Drakkar Klose. He likes to get hit a lot. And I mean, outside of these wild flying knee type of stuff against Jacob Kilburn, who is no world beater by any means, I mean, I don't see him beating Drakkar like that. I mean, Drakkar has gone to a lot of decisions. He's beaten a lot of good people. Um, I mean, his Jenkins jiu-jitsu, like what's he gonna do really to Drakkar outside of something dramatic in the first round? Drakkar has good cardio. He has really good jiu-jitsu defense. I mean, he had Benny Dariush on his back for a whole round in round one. Hurt Benny Dariush, got overexcited, got clipped, got knocked out. I mean, outside of something wild in the first round, I think he's going to get taken down. And I think first, I think he's going to get pushed against the fence. I think he's going to be worn out a little bit. And then I think he's going to be taken down. I think Drakkar wins this easily. It's probably over 1.5. I don't know that Drakkar has finished a fight in the UFC. I think all of his fights have gone to a decision except for his loss to Benny Dariush. So I think easy over 1.5. Drakkar easily wins this fight. As Brandon would say, don't overthink it. So also, as some of you would say, don't bet the fight that don't overthink it fight. So that's that. Next up, Lina Lansberg. She is 10-5. She's 40 years old. Is fighting Pannie Kianzad, who is not 40 years old. She's 30 years old, and she is 15-6. We last saw Pannie with Raquel Pennington. She lost a decision to Raquel. Before that, she beat Alexis Davis, Sajara Eubanks, Betch Correa, Jessica Rose Clark, and then she lost to Julia Vila before that. She's got a lot of high level experience. But honestly, so does Lina. She has been in the UFC since I think it was 2016. She made her debut against Chris Cyborg. She lost. She got ground and pound in round 2, 2016. That's 6 years ago. I mean, that's nuts. She's been in so long. She's fought a lot of good competition. Aspen Ladd, Gina Mazzani, Yana Kunitskaya, Macy Chazone, and then most recently Sarah McMahon. I mean, I think this is an easy win for Pannie. Pannie's clinch is strong. I mean, this is really, it comes down to it. Like Lina is like, I really don't know how she wins this fight. She's durable. She's there. She's in people's faces. Her offensive wrestling is not great. I mean, we've seen her get some takedowns, and she's good on top when she's there. Her defensive wrestling is not world beater-ish. I mean, her jiu-jitsu is not great from her back. In her stand-up, she pushes forward and clinches, which is where Pannie is good anyway. I think on the outside, Pannie's going to win the clinch game. On the inside, she has better Muay Thai experience. Pannie does. She's going to get a high clinch. She's going to do the traditional Muay Thai clinch. She's going to have an underhook. She's going to have the head. She's going to lock her hand. She's going to put her head underneath the chin of Lina, and she's going to control her there and beat her up. I wouldn't even be surprised if she got her own takedown and scored some points with it. I think this is going to be, for the most part, a clinch fest up against a fence. I think Pannie wins that clinch fest. The over here is an easy decision. Lina's last fights, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Her last 5 fights have gone to a decision. She lost ground and pound to Aspen Ladd, and then, decision before that, and then lost to Chris Cyborg. All right. So, I mean, she is a decision queen. On the other side of that, we have Pannie. Decision. No fight of hers, win or lose, has gone any way but decision since 2018. I mean, the fight goes to over 1.5, over 2.5. Fight goes to a decision. I think Pannie wins this. I think Lina will, I don't know, maybe get cut. These women's divisions are kind of weak sometimes, so maybe they keep her around. Pannie wins it. It's going to go a long time. This is a fight where you go grab a beer, grab some food, drive to the supermarket, whatever errands you need to do, you go do it, because this is not going to be an exciting one. It's going to take place on the cage. And one that I think will be a little bit more exciting is going to be the next fight, Devin Clark and Will Knight. Devin Clark was a JUCO national champ. He's a good wrestler. He's a little bit older now. He's 32. So he was probably a JUCO national champ 10, 12 years ago. He's been training at, Jackson Wink for quite a while and has been in the UFC for quite a while. Okay. He has only won decisions in the UFC, and any fight that he has lost, he has been stopped. All right. On the other side of that, you have Will Knight. He's 11-3. He is a brick shithouse. The guy is 7 feet wide and not even 6 feet tall. For as big as he is and as muscular as he is, he actually has decent cardio. And I think even more so than his cardio being decent is he understands how to slow the fight down. So we saw him against Dan Jung get out wrestled completely. But Jung is huge. And, he really got mauled in that fight. Outside of that, he beat Fabio Charant round 1, knocked him out, which is, everybody has knocked Fabio Charant out at least once. But then he beat Alonzo Menefield, rocked him quite a bit, lost a decision to Maxim Grishin, who's a big, tall, strong guy with good takedown defense and a really good jab. I don't think Maxim gets as much credit as he deserves. He's really solid. Just a little bit older, got in the UFC kind of late, but Maxim's actually really good. I like Will Knight here, and he is a dog. He is, let me see. Devin Clark is -175, and Will Knight is +145. I am assuming those odds are that way because of Devin Clark's wrestling background and Will Knight's lost to Dan Jung. But honestly, outside of that, I don't really know why. I think Clark is really not comfortable standing. I think he looks very uncomfortable standing. And I think Will Knight is explosive enough and will fight hard enough to defend some of those takedowns. And if he does get taken down, he will get back to his feet. On the other side of that, I think Devin Clark is chinny. I think he's very uncomfortable standing. I think he's got to decide. So on the outside, does he want to stand and trade with Will Knight, who just is so inactive on the outside where he doesn't really give you a lot of openings? You come in, he's going to fire kicks at you, and he's going to fire heavy shots. So does Clark go on the inside and try and wrestle? He's going to, try and blast double. And then that's where Will Knight is very explosive, and he moves, and he cage wrestles somewhat decently. And does that tire Clark out? And again, Clark doesn't finish fights, so he's going to have 15 minutes to clip Clark, and Clark gets finished. And I'm kind of shocked that the odds are the way that they are. but I think Will Knight is a good dog here. You know what you're getting with Will Knight. He's durable. He does most stuff right. His cardio is not great, but it's not the worst. His cardio is adequate for his style of fighting. Explosiveness, kind of like Derek Lewis. Really explosive, but then knows how to really do very little in between to let his cardio come back and kind of steal some moments and nullify whatever he needs to nullify. I think Clark is fast. I think he's lighter on his feet. I think he's a more athletic fighter by far. And I just think that he's not a solid pick. He's too unpredictable. He's too unreliable. And I think Will Knight gets the finish here. Um, and even if he doesn't, I mean, again, that would be Devin Clark's first loss in the UFC that didn't go to a finish. But you know what you're getting with Will Knight, and I like betting people who I know what I'm getting, not the hopefully this stuff happens. Moving along on the card, we've got Mounir Lazzez against Ang Lush. And this fight, I don't even see it on Bovada yet, so I don't know the odds. Mounir Lazzez was supposed to fight. His bout got canceled, so Ange Lush got brought in. And we saw Ange against Jack, who was it? Jack de la Maddalena. Gosh, I just can't say that fast. Jack de la Maddalena. There's just too many damn syllables in a freaking name. But hopefully I don't butcher it too badly like I do every other thing. Mounir Lazzez, I really like his right side knee, his right side kick. He's got a really good right low kick. He has a really good right knee that he just stabs up and in. We saw him against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who really caught him quite a bit early. And I mean, he really just didn't do anything. I mean, he took the punches, didn't go out. I think Abdul Razak kind of gassed himself out a little bit and then ended up losing a decision. Now, then we saw him against Warley Alves, who kicked him in the body. Then he kicked him in the body again, and then he kicked him in the body again with a left kick, and we saw him fall to the ground. I think he's a little bit more arrogant than his skills show. I'm assuming he's probably the favorite because of his record. He was the guy on the card. I think I like Lush here though. Again, he's coming in last minute, so you never know how that stuff is going to play out. He's got a long reach. He's got a really good jab. We saw Lazzez really throw a lot of those knees up the middle on Al Hassan, but Al Hassan throws those big overhands and he throws that big left hook. Those punches you've got to be closer to. And a great defense to people swinging big overhands at you is firing right knees up the middle. I mean, your head drops down when you throw an overhand and you get close, and a knee going up the middle, you're basically headbutting somebody's knee. I don't see Lush getting hit with that. He's been at Sanford for a long time. We saw him have really great grappling exchanges with Jack de la Maddalena. I mean, I was really impressed with his ability to scramble, with his ability to get back to his feet. De La Maddalena, I mean, won that fight. Don't get me wrong. His boxing is just clean as it gets. But I liked Lush's ability to get on top, to grapple, his right low kick, his long jab, his long two. I thought he was very measured in his approach. I don't know the odds yet, so I can't tell you what to bet. But, I think Lazzez is decent. I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. And I think Lush is decent. I think he's pretty good. I think he's got some good wins. And, I'm not sure the odds yet, but that's my take on the two of them in terms of fighting, at least. Next up, we've got Pat Sabatini and TJ Laramie. And I think we've only seen Laramie in the UFC once at this point. He fought Derek Minner, got guillotined. He was on the Contender when he fought Daniel Swain. He got the stoppage after round one. Dominant in that fight. But I know TJ Laramie well. One of my guys fought him before Paris Stanford. He lost a decision. And I've just seen him and his brother, Tony, fighting in the Canadian scene forever. short, stocky guys who have been fighting forever, great wrestling, decent boxing. And I think Laramie is actually so much better and so much tougher than he showed in that Derek Minner fight, who just has a really, really, really sneaky guillotine, and I think is actually underrated. I mean, he gasses hard, don't get me wrong, but I think he's actually a really good submission specialist for that first minute, or not first minute, I'm sorry, first round. On the other side of that, we have Pat Sabatini. And Sabatini trains with Sean Brady. He trains with the Philadelphia crew. Man, those guys are just solid right now. Their cage wrestling and jiu-jitsu is just off the freaking chain. Sabatini's going to have the reach. Um, Definitely not the power. He's not a great striker, even though he's decent. He's definitely a decent striker. I think if he goes toe to toe with TJ, I think he's going to end up getting clipped and not like what happens. That said, his cage wrestling is so good. I think if he shoots in, pushes TJ to the cage, I think he's going to find the takedown. And I think if TJ shoots in, which he does a lot, he blasts doubles, he drops to a double off of the cage. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sabatini defend it, spin, and find TJ Laramie's back. I'm not sure how good Laramie's back defense is, how good Laramie's going to be off of his back, but I think Sabatini is going to put him on his back. I think Sabatini is going to stop his takedowns, and I think he's going to find a way to drag him down to the mat and really just showcase himself. I mean, it's so weird because I really do think TJ Laramie is a lot better than people think. Um, I want to say I like over 1.5 on this. The only thing that makes me wonder about that is how good is TJ Laramie off of his back? And we've seen Laramie um, get rear naked choked before. We've seen him get guillotined before. And so I just don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust an over on this, but I think Sabatini wins it. He's a big favorite here, minus 425. Okay. I think that's a smart bet. I honestly think it's a decent bet to see him get the finish as well. The fight does not go the distance. And then now we move along to Myra Buena Silva and Yanan Wu. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch tape on this. You guys know me at this point. Buena Silva is good. I mean, she's decent. She's good. She lost to Manon Fiora, and there's no harm in that. That chick is just good. On the other side of that, we've got Yanan Wu, who is 3-1 in the UFC. 1-3 in the UFC, with her only win being against Lauren Mueller, who went 0-4 in the UFC and is no longer with the promotion. We have not seen the Chinese people do well. A lot of them in the UFC. I mean, just again, I didn't tape it. Don't be crazy here. I think Buena Silva is probably the bet. If you guys are dying to bet something here, um, I don't know. Watch tape yourself. But I really, it's hard for me to get behind some of these women Chinese fighters. I mean, of course, you have Wei Li Zhang. All right. I mean, she is just a different breed. But a lot of the other ones, they just haven't fought the competition, and their records are so padded. And you kind of know what you're getting with Myra Buena Silva. So that's that. Moving on to the next. We've got Andre Fiallo, Miguel Baeza. And this is a battle of two freaking strikers, man. This is going to be a solid affair. I mean, Andre Fiallo is just a durable son of a bitch, man. I mean, we saw him with Pereira, who is just an awkward human and really hard to figure out. And I think skill set for skill set, Pereira is just a bad matchup for him because, I mean, he's not going to take Pereira down. He really just doesn't have that skill set. He's not overly dynamic, and he's so inactive that you let somebody like Pereira get away. I mean, he's going to get away. Before that, he's got a win via first round knockout elbows. Right before that, a beautiful knockout first round as well. Before that, another knockout. Right before that fight, we've got a left hook knockout of James Vick. And then we've got, he lost a decision to Antonio Dos Santos. On the other side of that, we have Miguel Baeza, who is a clean freaking striker himself from MMA Masters. This is a Florida fight right here. We've got MMA Masters with Baeza, and with Fiala, we've got Sanford MMA. We saw Baeza get some beautiful knockouts and finishes in the UFC. Got a leg kick knockout, knocked out Matt Brown, arm triangle choke, Takashi Sato. Then, of course, he lost Santiago Ponzinibbio and then Khaos Williams. Now, in the Santiago fight, I thought he won the very first half of that fight. He won round one. I thought he won the first half of round two. And then Santiago started to put the heat on and really start to hone in with those low kicks. Not low kicks, but stepping in as Baeza was low kicking and just punched his way through. And then little by little, he started finding his hands more and more and more. That was a really close fight. Honestly, Ponzinibbio won the second half of round two, which almost always you win the second half versus the first half. All things considered, you're going to get the round. Of course, Santiago won round three, but man, that was a solid fight. Khaos Williams, I thought he was winning that fight until he just got into an exchange with a good, solid power puncher who caught him. Baeza does almost everything right. He does everything very well. High guard. He's lean. He likes that low kick. Fires middle kicks. Kicks first, punches later. I mean, really clean. He's athletic. He's dynamic. He's young. Love him, love him, love him. On the other side of that, we've got Andre Fiallo, who's a power puncher, and he's really inactive a lot. All right, so he doesn't do a lot. He's kind of there. He's kind of there. He's in your face. He's moving forward. He kind of has this weird high guard, almost like he's square with a little Muay Thai in him. But then when people throw at him, he shells up well. But he has power in his hands, and he's patient, and he really is a good boxer. The key to this fight, I think, is going to be Fiallo's leg checks. He checks kicks well. The other thing that he does is when we saw him in the his last LFA fight, when people are blasting low kicks at him, he will switch stances, which that alone is going to make it harder for Baeza to throw those low kicks. And if he can start to nullify those low kicks of Baeza, without the low kicks of Baeza, I don't know that Baeza can win a fight. All right. So I think he's going to check those kicks and he's going to counter with hands. And I think over the course of 3 rounds, those points are going to add up. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see him really clip and hurt Baeza later in the fight, end of the second round, end of the third round. I think this is a really close fight. I really, really, really am big on Baeza. But I think Andre Fiallo wins this fight based on checking kicks and just firing punches down the middle. They're both very well trained. They're both very good fighters. The odds on this are, man, Fiala's a dog. I didn't even realize that. Plus 145, Baeza's minus 175. The only way that I see Baeza winning this fight is volume. If he can just out volume Fiallo enough, then I think that's his route to victory. But I think I don't know that he can. I think just the power shots of Fiallo and the leg checks are going to be the difference here. So I think it probably is going to go over a round. I think it's probably going to go over a round and a half. I mean, I don't know if I'd bet that just because, I mean, these guys are really dynamic and they both know how to win fights. So I like Fiallo for the win, though. Co-main event time, guys. We're flying through this. I know I'm going as fast as I possibly can because it's just me. And I'm ready to upload this and go to bed. So we've got Kayao Baralo. I don't even know how the hell you say that name. And another name I can't say is Gadzi Omar Gadzhiev. All right. So it's like, oh my God. He's 13-0. He's Russian, in case you couldn't tell, against a Brazilian. Now, normally, all things considered, we have a 10-1 Brazilian against a 13-0 Russian. I say, don't even tape it. You just bet the Russian and you call it a day. I mean, just jiu-jitsu guy fall into his back versus a wrestler guy. I mean, that's what you assume with Russia and Brazil. Now, on the other side of this, though, I mean, I am not overly impressed with Gadzi. I think he's decent. I think his stand-up is not great at all. He fires a big overhand, and then he either fires that overhand and immediately shoots a double, or he fires that overhand and just loops 2 or 3 looping punches. His head is down. He reaches away from his punches. I mean, he's not a good stand-up fighter. He's fought a lot of guys who are not world beaters either, and we really haven't seen anybody give him much adversity. Most of his fight, I mean, he's like, I don't know that he's gonna finish. Geez, Kyle, who's durable, whose only loss is 2015. But what Kyle does well is his movement. He really moves well. He's a southpaw. He has really good right hook. He has a really good left knee up the middle. He moves well. He's athletic. He's got good enough jujitsu, good enough wrestling. He stands back up. He does all the right stuff. I haven't seen enough from Godzi, but I'm not wowed by him at all. He is a slight favorite. Godzi is minus 145. Cow is plus 120. I think I like Cow for the win here. And again, we haven't seen Godzi fight enough high level people to really know what he's made of. He's getting these double legs and he's kind of controlling them. But it's, I don't know. I'm not overly impressed. On the other side of that, what really impresses me is Cow's win over Aaron Jeffrey. And Aaron Jeffrey tried to take this fight to the mat. Jeffries was 10-2 coming in, but he beat Colin Huckbody, Andre Petrowski, a win over Bruno Assis. He has a loss to Brendan Allen and a loss to Sean Brady. There's no shame in those 2 losses. And then of course, Cow. He was pushing him against the fence, could not keep him there. He was trying to drag him to the mat. He could not. And I was just really impressed with Cow's ability to get off of the cage, to move away. He does, when people punch at Cow, his chin is up. He's leaning back a little bit. I'm not overly impressed with his defensive striking, but I don't think that's going to be an issue here. I really, the only way I see him losing this is if he gets taken down and just held onto. It's not the furthest thing that I could fathom happening, but if you're going to bet a Russian and you're going to throw a lot of money on a Russian, I don't think Godzi is the guy to do that. I think he's fine. I think he's decent. He's undefeated. Yay. But I'm not overly impressed. So that's what I have there. Now we've got the main event. We are moving along. We have Vincente Luque and we've got Belal Muhammad. All right. And these guys are both killing it lately. Vincente Luque was at Sanford forever. I am looking, and it looks like he did this camp in Brazil. And I don't know if that was a fallout from Sanford or what, or if he has family back down there, what. I don't know what happened, but it kind of looks like he was back in Brazil for this. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we've actually seen a lot of guys from Sanford losing lately. And I don't think it's a testament to their coaching. I think it's a testament to how many guys are there and how much attention is given to each guy. And I think Vincente being there for so long with Gilbert Burns, working with him as a training partner, and then Henry Hooft as a striking coach and Greg Jones as a wrestling instructor, I think is going to do nothing but benefit him over the, that years and years and years of that instruction. I think is going to be great. And then I think if he goes back to Brazil and then all of the focus is on him for a camp, I think it's just going to help him. On the other side of that, we have Belal Muhammad, who is 20-3, lost to Luque earlier in his career, lost to Jeff Neal, and has really been on a tear lately. Just beat Stephen Thompson in a main event in his last outing. Luque is a finisher. He's a finisher. His striking is solid. He has a beautiful low kick. He covers well. His jiu-jitsu, his last 2 wins are Darce chokes, one over Michael Chiesa, the other one over Tyron Woodley. He scrambles well. We saw him with Randy Brown, hit that beautiful knee, rocked him, hurt him, beat him up afterwards. Nico Price, he's just durable. He got taken down. He got hit a little bit by Nico. he's just a solid fighter. And then on the other side, we have Belal Muhammad, who is really, really, really a good grappler. Striking is decent. He has good lateral movement, kind of a weird off rhythm, kind of bobblehead style. And his head is huge. His head is like 2 or 3 times the size that it should be for the frame of his body. So he's a massive, massive head. I'm actually shocked that he's ever been hurt before. And I'm shocked that Luque knocked him out earlier in their careers. But Belal is good. He moves well. He has good cardio, but his chain wrestling has just gotten better and better and better. And I think this is a very close fight. And the two things, and this is, I think I'll give my pick from a winner, but this is what you guys have to decide whether I'm right or wrong. This is what you guys have to decide on the fight. Who do you think is going to win? Now, Belal Muhammad, his fights are going to a decision. All right. Like that is just it. He is going to a decision. He's going to a decision. Vincente Luque is not going to a decision unless he loses. All right. So we saw him with Stephen Thompson. He lost a decision. And then right before that, Leon Edwards lost a decision. It wasn't right before that. It was a few fights before that. Honestly, even Mike Graves before that decision. I mean, he has not been finished since 2013. I mean, let's be real. Vincente Luque is going to a decision if he loses, but if he wins, he is finishing you. All right. Um, on the other side of that, we have Belal Muhammad, like I said, who is not finishing fights. It's going to a decision. So you've got to wonder, is Vincente Luque going to be able to get up to his feet uh, enough times to hurt Belal Muhammad? All right. And on the other side of that, is Belal Muhammad going to be able to take Vincente Luque down and control him enough to win a decision and to not get finished? And I think Belal Muhammad is going to win a decision. And my reasoning for that is, I mean, we've seen it in a few fights, but most recently, most telling was the Nico Price fight, who I don't consider some amazing wrestler, amazing grappler, who was able to just blast double and lift Luque up and just throw him to the mat. Of course, he got back up. He ended up finishing the fight, whatever. Chiesa got the fight to the ground when he decided to. Chiesa got kind of weird in his later fights. I think he's kind of like, all right, I'm gonna go out there and give it my all, or I'm out. Brandon said it on the on one of our podcasts. He's in commentator mode, so I think Chiesa's hard days of fighting are done. I don't think if he gets into a dogfight, he's gonna win a dogfight. Belal Muhammad he's not a commentator. I mean, well, actually he does some commentary and stuff, but he's not on the Chiesa train. He is still fighting. I think, man, watching him with Stephen Thompson, he absorbed punishment. He was defending well, and he was able to get those takedowns again and again and again and again and close the distance. And, with Luque, we saw him with Chiesa. And don't get me wrong, Luque is infinitely a better striker than Chiesa, but Chiesa came out differently and was just moving lateral, and Luque couldn't really find him much. And then Chiesa even had success throwing some punches at him. And, I think it was a little bit telling of the Belal Muhammad fight. He has really good lateral movement. I think that's going to be hard for Luque to really start blasting those low kicks. And I think his lateral movement's going to go. I think Luque is going to plant down to throw, and I think he's going to end up getting taken down. How many low kicks does he want to throw if every time he does, Belal is shooting in and putting him on his ass? So I think Belal Muhammad is going to end up getting the decision, but you guys out there have to decide, can Belal Muhammad take him down for 25 minutes without getting hurt? And can Luque find a way to win in 25 minutes, which he will most likely have, because I don't think Belal Muhammad is a finisher, and I don't think there's any way that Belal Muhammad can finish him. I like the over here. I think over 1.5, over 2.5 is good. Well, honestly, it really just depends on who you think is going to win. If you think Luque wins, man, the fight does not go the distance as the bet. If you think Belal Muhammad wins, you go over 3.5 or over 4.5, or the fight does go the distance. All right. So I think if you like Luque, you go doesn't go the distance. You like Muhammad, goes the distance. I slightly favor Muhammad in this fight just because of the grappling and that grind. And I think he's gritty enough to get through it. So that is it, you guys. Man, alone, I talked for 55 minutes. I was trying to get through these fights quickly, but I'm, trying to get through them as quickly as I can with giving you as much little pieces of information as I can without boring you because it's just me. So, again, you guys, go check out mybookie.ag. Again, MMA Picks 50 will get you 50% deposit bonus. Check out our Patreon. Check out LaCroix. Go check out Brandon's Instagram and see what the hell he is doing in Costa Rica. That is Brandan, Brandan Olivas. He has one of those squiggly things over, I don't know, some letter in his last name. So I don't think that's somewhere on Instagram. So I think you can just type in his last name and find him. So give him hell, talk shit for him not being here. And, we'll see you guys next week. I believe there's some fights next week. Brandon will be back. He will be here with me. He has not left us for good. Even though, sometimes we can wish. So we'll see you guys next time. Have fun.